Okay, so we're going to be doing G2 versus Fnatic. I'm Rojo, and this is the Game 5 for G2 versus Fnatic's playoff in the second round, their playoff match. I haven't really gotten a chance to go over this series in a more serious way. I watched all 5 games, and I thought it was very interesting. But I haven't really been able to go through it, and so this is going to be the first time going through it in a serious way. So, draft. Wonder on Ornn and against the GP. GP should have fairly good time into this lane. Should have control throughout the lane. But Ornn actually does have kill pressure, especially once he hits level 6. Gangplank really doesn't want to get caught out in a bad spot against Ornn, because while Ornn is going to have kind of a rough time, especially due to the range discrepancy, thanks to the Q on Whippo's Gangplank, the kill pressure actually does kind of shift, or not really even kill pressure actually. Gangplank doesn't really have kill pressure on Ornn. He's going to be able to sit tight. There shouldn't be too many issues with that lane, so I'm just going to move on. Jankos is on set, and it's going to be against Selfmade's Gragas. I believe this match was kind of, not the beginning, but more of, I guess it's kind of the beginning. I'm actually not entirely sure if the LPL was really playing Evelynn, but Selfmade was a kind of player that seemed like he would have picked Evelynn in a good spot, and he did in this series. It's not in this game, but picking the AP jungler, AD solo laners, as well as, of course, AD marksman, kind of allows him to be the sole magic damage for this, which I guess is a similar, it's not at all the same as playing Evelynn, but puts the damage profile in like the same kind of balance. Although Gragas is not going to be dealing the same amount of damage as Evelynn. It's a disruptive pick, creates potential initiation, potential kiting options for Fnatic, and given the look of the team, you see a bunch of ranged choices, more of a poke choice, zone controlling champion, as well as another kind of threat mitigating champion, as well as potential initiation, safety, support. You have a lot of champions that want to get help kiting, and Gragas can do that as well, of course, because they kind of lack CC and they lack the real ability to get onto champions on G2. The Gragas and the Thresh are going to be pivotal in that. So both defensively and offensively, Gragas comes in as a pretty decent choice. Probably not going to have the same level of early impact as Jankos' set will be having. I don't remember the exact details of this game. I know that it's rather messy, so I can't say for sure how the early or mid or late game goes. But set having a being the more aggressive choice between Gragas and set, I would imagine means he's going to be looking for some mid lane plays. I don't really think that there's really that much feasible ganks on the Gangplank, and set against Thresh and Senna seems a little difficult, although still doable. But the real vulnerability is the Lucian, mostly because of the gank setup that LeBlanc can create. Then we look at Gragas's gank setup. He doesn't really have any. He's not really. It's not really his role. His role in this game is to neutralize Zed. Something that I say very often, but it seems to be fairly common. You have one person on one side being the aggressor or having the role of the aggressor as a result of the draft that they create. And on the other side, you have someone who's designed to neutralize. That's kind of the split dichotomy of the jungle. You have someone who wants to get things off, and you have someone who wants you to not get things off. Because Gragas, while he could pretty much on his own get ganks off if a laner screws up massively on G2, it's likely that he's not really going to be doing that, and it does kind of call into question the Predator pickup. Although I'm not entirely sure how it's supposed to look since the nerf, because it really hasn't been very prevalent, and I don't know necessarily if it scales well. Most runes don't really, but I suppose maybe it does. I doubt it, but that might just be a lack of knowledge that I have. So the mid lane is interesting. An assassin versus a lane bully. LeBlanc versus Lucian. Lucian was a big pick throughout the series for Nemesis. So he being back on it in this game, I believe it was banned once or twice by G2. Probably is where Fnatic wants to be draft-wise. Caps on LeBlanc, as the casters will likely gush about during this game, is going to be kind of a comfort pick for Caps. Interestingly, I feel like this matchup is very interesting, and if I was just allowed to focus on this, I would sure that'd be very interesting and very engaging. But there's a whole map to go through, because I think this matchup is volatile. I think it's genuinely volatile, depending on I guess the level of skill of both of these players, and I guess what they're trying to do, right? Does Nemesis really want to create priority for his lane? Can he necessarily do that against an aggressive champion like LeBlanc? Or is he willing to cede pressure in exchange for when she roams and goes to another area, he can then push hard on objectives? Maybe a mischaracterization of the matchup, but we'll see. Then the bottom lane, I always seem to flip flop in knowing, not even knowing, I guess guessing who is going to actually have priority and control of the bottom lane in a Senna versus Ashe matchup. Something tells me, for some reason, that Braum is seen as a counter to Thresh. As of right now, I can't, based on their skills and how they normally play, I can't really think of why. It's probably super obvious and I'm just missing it as of right now, but I'll give it to Senna. I'll give it to the Senna Thresh match. Not the first time I've been wrong about how this matchup is gonna go. Won't be the last. In general, I kind of went over the way that Fnatic want to play. They're kind of at range champions, or a bunch of range champions that kind of want to scale up, which is interesting when you have a Lucian, who doesn't necessarily scale super well, but he goes the mana build with the Mura mana, which does provide a bit of scaling for the Lucian, so that it doesn't really fall off to oblivion, as most other Lucian builds do. Very zone control-y, preventing someone from walking into certain areas due to the range. If you look at the opposite end, I mean, you have a melee, an assassin who's melee, or not really melee, who has to go into very close range in order to deal damage. Another melee champion, and then a ranged DPS. So the set is probably going to be a big anchor on G2, as sets usually seem to be around these days. Doesn't really seem to have too great of a purpose, except for trying to snowball the LeBlanc, maybe make some comfortable positions for the Ornn and the Ashe lane, but it feels like it's not really going to have an in, or at least a comfortable in. If it can get in, it's going to have to be like a flank onto a carry, and that's fairly dangerous for low econ champions, as well as the fact that Gragas says no, Gangplank can say no, Thresh can say no. There's a lot of ways of preventing that, so even that isn't really possible. Ornn actually might he actually has a lot of survivability, because the DPS options on Fnatic are Lucian, and even though he's going to go the Mermana build, it's not that high for DPS, and it's still going to be hurt by the massive amount of armor that Wunder should be building. Caps probably feels like it's a lot on his shoulders, because it is. His ability to pick off, especially the Gragas, Lucian, and Senna, are really important. Gragas is included because he has one of the lowest MR. Does he even have MR scaling? It's either one of the lowest MR scalings or literally no MR scaling, which means he's going to be super squishy against Caps. And there's not really too much you can do to prevent that. You probably build a second item Zhonya's, or second item Zhonya's, maybe just. It's at least after the first item you build after Runic Echoes, but I could definitely see it being built second just to prevent getting one shot. As well, it allows you to be a little more aggressive with your play. You can kind of body slam in, use your cask and barrel, then stasis, allowing your team to kind of group around you and build a lot of range for you to kind of survive. In any case, I'm looking at looking at this. You know what? I know I'm sticking with Senna Thresh, but it's honestly it's just a complete lack of knowledge from that. I need to be looking at these matchups more closely. In any case, I do favor Fnatic's composition, because I think it's more designed against G2's, but execution is going to be key for G2, and if any team is capable of executing against another team within their region, I would pick G2. It's really down to Caps' execution. Everyone else doesn't really have too much on their plate. The Ashe is actually it might be important, because it does kind of prevent Lucian from going in ever. So that could also be very important. It also is a potential pick potential champion. Potential champion. It's all the arrow will be really pivotal in conjunction with Caps in the event that ever comes up. Great. going at 1.5 speed. We have Lore on the desk. I believe this is a grabs interview.
Your goal in the early game against Fnatic this game.
I mean, as before, right? We try to snowball through mid into board, get some Dex advantages. This time around, Evolution was a bit more self-sufficient in lane than his other picks, so maybe he doesn't hack tower this game, so it'll be a bit harder, but still, of course, aiming to have a strong early game presence, and then Ornn can be weak side, top side. We play for objectives, as I said, and that's the goal.
All right, well, we'll see how things.
Okay, that was extremely basic. That was basically what I said, but I mean, more succinct and easier understood. He misses the hook. Doesn't really matter.
If you're Jankos, do you look for a level 2 play into Illusion, or do you? What's your early path?
I mean, right now Jankos looks like he might want to make a level 1 play. I think level 2 play into Lucian can work if you go straight after red buff, because that means he won't have his E just yet, so the dash will not be there. But I think by starting on the blue buff, he's likely just going to try to clear out the bot side jungle. Again, like
I mean, as Ender is saying, there is a potential, like if you start red, you can try to bother the Lucian here, but he's starting blue, which means that he's basically not. He can't go for that because it wouldn't. I guess he could still go for it. I guess he could still go for it. Yeah, I mean, it's probably less likely.
So by splitting the map right there at level 1, it's going to create a lot of pressure on Reckless and Hillsing right off the bat.
You can see a hook does land.
Oh, hook immediately.
Like, Nemesis is so far pushed up in this lane.
I mean, and okay, yep. He just does the level 2 anyway. Okay, Caps actually gets the level 2 off. Nemesis is now kind of in a weird spot because he has to crawl around the entire map in order to get back into the lane. I mean, he's gonna eventually have to go through the Raptor area. So that's really, really unfortunate. Obviously, it's going to hurt the Lucian, but if you notice, Lucian has more CS than the LeBlanc, despite the level advantage. So, in fact, what ends up happening is Nemesis isn't really able to like lock set into this area, which is why the map split doesn't necessarily happen. So you end up taking the blue buff, and then you can walk around through the mid lane and threaten the mid laner, as well as going back to your side of the map, preventing Selfmade from going over to splitting the map, which is actually kind of to the benefit of Fnatic, because then Bwipo is completely safe. He's allowed to play as aggressive as possible. Wunder can get shoved in. No real danger for the first several levels. And then, I mean, Wunder, for some reason, is already teleporting in. I have the slightest idea what happened. It must have been... It probably actually falls in line with that thinking, right? Whippo may have been playing to be aggressive, to set up for the map split, which would have endangered Wunder, and it would have secured Whippo's spot in this lane without having to worry about the opposing jungler. But Set they do the invade, they do a late invade onto the blue buff, move through the mid lane, and then back to his blue buff, which secures him his entire camps, all of his camps, and makes Selfmade lose one camp, his blue buff, which is kind of important. But Gragas, I don't think, is so incapable of playing without the blue buff. Also, it used to be fairly common to just do one side and then go back for boots and then come back. I don't know if that's necessarily what's going to happen here, but... What happened? Okay, actually what happened for... I want to see what was going on with... I'm looking at the health bars. So, hold on, let's just, oh, hold on. Gonna put a thing over here. Health bars. Oops. Cut.
But I think by starting on the blue buff, he's likely just going to try to clear out the bot side jungle. Again, like Grabs was saying,
Wunder seems to be going very aggressively forward.
It's going to create a lot of pressure on Reckless and Hillsing.
You can see a hook does land in the 2 versus 2. Mickey though feeling
can go mid actually. Like Nemesis is so far pushed up in this lane.
Bwipo ends up chugging all of his corrupting potions, which allows him to trade very aggressively. And Wonder is almost dead off of that. I mean, Wonder must have been stepping up way too far forward. And then you see him having to back here. So Bwipo actually is not necessarily safe, and so what his play is now he might have to change it. Unfortunately, what ends up happening. Let me just look at. I mean, he tries to move it about as slowly as possible, and now it's bouncing, or I guess half bouncing, because it isn't fully the backline still kind of here. But this backline being here actually keeps the wave in a dangerous spot, which means that Set has an avenue to come in here. So even though Bwipo may, like, in an isolated situation, Bwipo has just won the lane hard. But it's not isolated because there's junglers that exist. So this is kind of precarious. I mean, this might be enough vision to keep him alive. I wonder how much it costs him to go for this, put this ward here and like put it here on this corner, because it'll see slightly more off into the river. It doesn't really matter. The point is, I think Selfmade has to help escort a wave so that Bwipo doesn't die. Might have to be the fourth wave. This is the third wave right here, right? That's coming in. He probably has time. Unless, and I've seen so many sets across the world, but LEC and the LPL, although LPL doesn't play set too much, recently at least. At all, mostly just the LEC. Then I don't think I have any memory of any LPL sets. I don't watch it too much, but I can very easily see this set just going, all right, well, I'm just gonna you were being mean to my orange, so I'm gonna just be here. Just after his blue buff. So that's is a little precarious. Doesn't seem to be what's happening.
You are watching and hearing some audio glitches. We are aware and we are working on it. Because now you can see Perks and Mickey slipping forward just ever so slightly. While in the meantime, Bwipo's pushing that top lane all the way towards the tower of Wonder. No surprise in terms of the matchup right now.
He's already forced the TP out from Wonder. A very good trade in the early lane phase.
Okay. Ends up just taking a recall and going to use teleport. No, he doesn't even use. Wait. Why is his teleport down? What?
And hearing some audio glitches. We are aware and we are.
Oh, this is it's a visual bug along with the minion health being gone, which is actually kind of unfortunate because it helps understand what's going on in the lane. But I mean, here you can just see that it's getting pushed in because Caps has pretty much all the pressure because Nemesis does not have flash, which means that if somehow Caps gets on him, it's almost a death sentence.
His flash, this is guaranteeing Caps the early prio, and again, comes back to what we were talking about, and the fact that Nemesis has to play defensively means that Caps can look for opportunities elsewhere. Selfmade is moving to.
Okay, so you see here, what's actually going on is Selfmade is not going to take the recall. I don't know if that was necessarily his route anyway, but he's not going to take the recall. He's not going to escort a wave. He doesn't feel the need to do that. But what he's going to do is he's contesting the crab, which helps cover for Jankos. Cover against Jankos, and cover for Bwipo. So this has the same effect. It just actually has a purpose instead of just doing this. And I didn't even consider the crab, frankly, which is bad on me.
Yeah, I think right now Nemesis has a lot of potions. His Wonder does take a nice trade.
I think Selfmade really isn't even trying to. Yeah, he wasn't really trying to go for it. it was one of those things where it's like, if I can get this crab, Whippo's even safer. But by just appearing here, he's already kind of mitigated Yankos' ability to go into the lane.
Around this middle lane, trying to funnel the scuttle crabs into Yankos and give him that pressure. Meanwhile, again, he has the top side scuttle, should be able to secure the bot one. Reckless and Hill saying,
And you still see here, actually, Yankos might still look for something. But with Selfmade moving to the opposite side of the map, Bwipo takes the time and says, alright, I'm going to recall and teleport. His teleport is up, it's just that the spectator is currently bugged.
Good damage there onto Mickey. Death sentence into Flay. Big minion wave as well.
I'm always so impressed with how Senna functions as a champion.
With Selfmade, Mickey the way to the bottom.
Yeah, this is going to be a little bit difficult to pull off of a dive here. There's an exhaust and a heal they have to worry about, so I think Fnatic make the
Always seems to be able to troll lanes.
And I think this threat will return in a couple of minutes.
Okay. So both mid laners have just teleported onto the lane. Nemesis kind of moved downward. It doesn't really seem like that was a legitimate threat. I'm not entirely sure what that was covering. Actually, let me look.
CS for now. Nemesis on the Lucian.
I mean, Bwipo is in a still potentially dangerous spot. He should be fine because Gangplank is fairly difficult to gank at with only 2 champions. Generally needs 3 to die or to be killed. But this is interesting. So Nemesis moves down with Selfmade into this spot, which is going to end up going into the tri-bush rush on bottom. What is this movement for? What does it do? Because we're not covering for Set. Because we've positioned ourselves in a way that prevents Set from coming in. And we are almost certain at this point that Set is on the top side threatening Bwipo. But Bwipo should be safe because he's Gangplank. This isn't a legitimate threat. There's no way they can actually dive these two under normal circumstances. It might just be a case of positioning themselves to threaten, even if it's not a legitimate, hey, we're actually going to dive you scenario, or if we dive you, it's going to be because you screwed up kind of thing on G2's bottom lane, but maybe it's just to kind of spook them. And like give them a little bit of
Doubling up here with Selfmade, making the way to the bottom.
Yeah, this is going to be a little bit difficult to pull off of a dive here. There's an exhaust and a heal they have to worry about, so I think Fnatic make the right call to back away there. And just as soon as they go into the fog for the threat of the dive, will loom on the horizon for G2's bot side of the map.
maybe the threat is just enough. But it feels like it doesn't really do anything. And here Nemesis is this is the questions that I had, right? Like, if Nemesis is capable of doing this, right? He's able to push the lane and he's able to get some kind of priority at some cases. In some cases. But this is still potentially dangerous. This is a really good setup. I mean, this seems really dangerous. He should be dead. By all accounts, right? He's
base and forced to use that
was that a Hex Flash? What was that?
Whoa,
Whoa, what did I just... Oh, right, because he has phase... Not phase rush. Well, he does have phase rush. But he has, Nimbus Cloak.
Extremely well played there by Yankos. And he's actually just been playing up towards the top side of the map, and I feel like Nemesis, he had to push that wave out. He was forced in a difficult situation. Selfmade wasn't there to help support, and now Selfmade is even having more of his camps stolen.
Selfmade loses his Raptors. I mean, this is so... I mean, this is clearly a mistake, right? But what can you do in this? I feel like you're just screwed. I think you're screwed either way. But I suppose the safer play is to just walk to lane and then have Cap... No, because then you're just frozen here anyway, right? No, he's ruined. No, it's over. This is just bad. So then, is it be
Under the tower down 7
okay,
Cs for now.
let's
Nemesis
bounce.
on the Lucian, doubling up here with Selfmade and making the way to the bottom lane.
Yeah, this is going to be a little bit difficult to pull off of a dive here. There's an exhaust and a heal they have to worry about, so I think Fnatic make the right call to back away there and just... As soon as they go into the fog 4, the threat of the dive will loom on the horizon for G2's outside of the map. And I think this threat will return in a couple of minutes because, you know, we mentioned briefly in the top lane, Bwipo traded really aggro into Wonder to get him to back to base and forced to use that teleport early on. So there will be a mismatch for a little bit when Bwipo takes over level 6, where he has the global and Wonder won't be able to reply.
All right, Hex Flash comes down. Nemesis can get pulled back in just a moment. The chains need to connect, and it looks like they do. Nemesis will go down. First blood to Yankos. Wave the white flag in Fnatic's face.
Extremely well played.
It all adds up to look like the movement from the mid jungle duo down into the bottom side was a mistake. Because usually what I try to do when I'm trying to figure out what teams are doing, the decisions that are going around them, the intents, the intentions behind them, I assume that they know what they're doing and that they have an idea as to what the positives of what they're doing are. So just seems like a mistake. I don't know what the I don't know. It just seems weird.
He's actually just been playing up towards the top side of the map, and I feel like Nemesis, he had to push that wave out. He was forced in a difficult situation. Selfmade wasn't there to help support, and now Selfmade is even having more of his camp stolen away.
I don't know how much that was perhaps forcing him into that situation, or how much he honestly could have done to prevent that situation.
We talked about it, and so far it's paying off.
Seems fairly minimal.
What G2 needed to do, and Nemesis already in trouble, still won't have a flash, and Yanko's still holding on to the Hex, so he's going to be able to come and make that happen. It's a situation where Hylissang does take a lot of damage down.
Okay, Hylissang takes a lot of damage there. Pretty even lane. Nothing too nothing whack is happening.
But I feel like the Thresh could be the thing to swing it back to Fnatic so they could get some control over the area.
Let's see if Hylissang can get unlocked. Yankos once again appearing on the map, threatening pressure onto Reckless and Healy. Hex Flash is available. He's going to find himself Reckless. The Lantern is available after the pullback. And that means Hylissang and Reckless will be able to turn this around, put some damage down onto Yankos. The Haymaker's done a lot. Here comes Selfmade and Nemesis.
This is the Flay. Should be fine though.
Hold on thoughts on whether or not this dive is going to go forward. Flash is available for Selfmade. He's not going to go under the tower just yet.
I think he just hit level 6, but his Sultan on cooldown?
Does look like it. I didn't quite
What the hell?
tower just yet.
I think he just hit level 6, but his
For Selfmade, respectively. Hold on thoughts on whether or not this dive is going to go forward. Flash is available for Selfmade. He's not going to
Yo, Yankos uses both of his. What is that? He used both of his his control wards on this bush. I mean, I guess to see what's happening, but
just hit level 6, but his Sultan on cooldown?
seems a really unfortunate use of the gold and vision.
He has ultimate, he does have it.
Who is going to win game 5? Spam in chat, G2 or Fnatic. I know it's tense, it's 1 kill and 4 gold in favor of G2. It looks like an observer bug, right, for the GPO.
Yeah, so the reason why I wanted to mention that was because we saw 4 members of Fnatic looking towards bot side. The play for a dive was very real.
It's actually really interesting that you see in one frame it's this, and then in immediate next it's just like, and obviously a different spectator client that they're broadcasting with. Anyway, I mean, things have seemed to neutralize in the top lane, and the reality is that the aggressive play, I don't know if that necessarily made anything happen, because the end result is that Bwipo has the cull, which, I mean, I guess he does have an advantage statistically over Ornn, but not that big. And Ornn can just buy his own items. I believe this. Yeah, that was an item he bought with his passive. This is too far forward.
Pathing back towards bot side. Now Yankos is here in the river first, and I think
Definitely a little bit overdue, but
so this is 50% effectiveness, so that's only 75 health. Even still, I mean, this is gonna be evened up now for the most part, which is fine. But there is actually going to be a TP advantage in a few seconds, so that means that G2 could play with that in their favor, but Bwipo obviously has the cannon barrage. Jungle seems to be about even. I mean, Yanko's camp ahead, seemingly, and he got those wards that were down there. Things pretty normal.
He's sitting with a level advantage over Selfmade right now, and Fnatic is like holding.
Fnatic are still kind of pushing into this bottom lane. They're shoving the next wave. What wave is it?
Especially with Whippo having access to his ulti, but Fnatic choose not to pull the trigger. Jankos will now find
constantly, twice now, trying to move into that bottom lane and put down some pressure. Jankos has not
I believe that this incoming wave is a cannon wave,
around the 8-minute mark, we're resetting and not actually pathing to the top lane. We're going to be pathing back towards
which gives the most space for the
Right.
recall, which is why they're doing it.
And if Jankos continues to find impact this game, you then start to question Fnatic's answer to it. They chose to let that one go through. Mickey will be able to roam, and this was Fnatic's bottom lane. They managed to get their recall pickaxe and tier secured, and Hilly and Rex.
Interesting. They are moving down through the mid lane. What is the purpose behind that?
Will be able to roam, and this was Fnatic's bottom lane. They managed to get their recall pickaxe and tier secured, and Hilly and Reckless will just do a brief drive-by in that.
See, I guess they're both trying to work for vision around here.
Being picked up in the top and the middle lane for now.
Doesn't seem to be too impactful.
behind G2, but that's closer than I thought.
And I guess it doesn't really end up resulting in any loss of... I mean, they lose one
A lot more G2-sided, but clearly there are still
minion experience, so it's not the end of the world.
I think they do have a shot with the draft that they have gotten themselves.
I think it's perfectly good.
Still very even.
Good.
Will get to use his ultimate anyway for a play, but we see that the bot lane of G2 already on the road.
I mean, this is the most.
G2 move to the Herald, and Selfmade being on the top side of the map means he cannot respond with a dragon, which is really unfortunate. Seems to be the case that Fnatic aren't really going to be going for it. I mean, this makes sense when you're against Set and he was able to do what he did to Nemesis. Early objectives are really kind of on G2 to take rather than for Fnatic to take. Kind of like if Fnatic take them, they're taking them because they've gotten something else that allows them to take it for free, more so than they've set up for it or they're going to move people for it. Because they don't really have the initiative to do that.
It doesn't look like they'll lose too much as that wave is just right in tower.
Yeah, so G2 have been controlling vision around mid lane very, very well, cascading that pressure into the early Rift Herald for Jankos as well. I will say, though, that it has once again resulted in Perkz falling behind in this bottom lane. Yeah, he'll pick up some farm underneath that bot lane tower, but this is going to be the Reckless again that probably will pick up some plates when they eventually swap and get out to a lead. But we have
This is actually interesting, because this is a case of... I could very easily see a Cloud9, I could very easily see Blabber already just, on this dragon. So some teams would have been willing to just be already on this dragon. Gragas recalls after Krugs and just beelines it straight to the dragon because of the wave crash here. And then it's a very tight window and possibly risky, probably very risky. But
not seen Reckless advantages.
it's those kinds of windows that are
meaningful for the rest of the
interesting to me.
Last game we saw him sitting at a 0-0-0 scoreline once again, and we do see a bit of action in the bottom.
And Mickey went very, very low. Selfmade kind of saved his life. I mean, not really, but ends up using his flash. The Daunting Shadow is really, really big there.
It's a huge save right there to keep Selfmade alive. It looks like he was almost surely going to go die once Braum applied the passive to it.
I mean, this probably guarantees the dragon being...
Didn't find its target. He must survive as observers will throw the weak lane.
Let's have a look. So the hook does land on the Braum. He takes a huge chunk of damage. The stun does come down. A clutch exhaust actually mitigates a lot of it.
G2 could probably still go for that dragon.
And then we see Captain Jankos join. And as Andrew was saying, I thought at this point Selfmade was going to lose his life, but the gangplank ultimate comes in clutch.
Mickey kind of doesn't take the life that he was given and just kind of walks a little too close to Selfmade. They don't go for the dragon anyway.
Selfmade just going to be putting this one out for now.
They are clearing it. I mean, given the state of mid lane for G2 have general control over this area, and priority over mid lane, but there's kind of like it seems to be more in Senna and Thresh's favor in the bottom lane, but it's not super secure, so they end up kind of teasing this a little bit longer than it probably... Like, this is a 10-minute 40 dragon. This ends up being alive for a bit longer than what I think G2 want to see, but...
Whippo does have teleport, whereas Wonder does not.
Okay.
Find out what happens. Fnatic able to secure the first dragon of the game.
That is... Here's the thing. So,
Well, if you look at the river,
just a
1, 2, 3, 4
question
meters
on,
apiece inside. Mickey's gonna tag Reckless, though.
Whippo does have teleport.
I'm not super well versed in,
Does not.
ah,
Look at the river.
Wow.
1, 2, 3, 4 members apiece inside. Mickey's gonna tag Reckless, though.
Whippo does have teleport, whereas Wonder does not.
how did he get that? What did he do to get that? What? He just like, what?
River. 1, 2, 3, 4 members apiece inside. Mickey's gonna tag Reckless, though.
Whippo does have teleport, whereas Wonder does not.
The spectators had to be kind of bugged. What did he do to hit that for 90 health?
Let's find out what happens. Fnatic able to secure the first dragon of the
I have no idea how he got that.
Which means we're gonna get a mountain or an ocean soul.
But also Yanko's kind of screwed it up. I mean, it's,
G2, despite their posturing, unable to get his dragon.
This is exactly what Fnatic want.
he just maybe miscalculated the damage. Maybe, I mean, it's probably exactly what he did. He just miscalculated his damage. So, hey, I was right. On the bottom lane, it might be, I feel like it's always more support based, right?
Gangplank ultimate not up just yet, but you can see that Whippo playing very defensively because he knows it sets in the top side of the map.
Self-made
Also
being
looking for
on
Robert Top, and looking cross map. Self-made
this side.
spot out.
Oh, he doesn't see him. The
Oh, he
vision
doesn't go for it.
does
Okay.
not see the recall from Mickey. Whippo respecting the potential dive, he backs away, so he does not concede another death. Or any death.
Bwipo actually moves. I mean, you actually see here he moves out. So we were actually, so the spectators were focused on the bottom lane, but what's happening here is probably more interesting. So Bwipo actually moves. I wonder when he moved, just to kind of
G2,
get an
despite
idea.
their posturing, unable to get his dragon.
Okay, so Dragon's here, right?
Take a look. A little bit of pressure from Caps here, just using the distortion.
It's interesting because this isn't really a window. This is kind of coin flip. They just flip. I guess Selfmade just got bored of the dragon being here and wanted a new one, because this is just a flip. Yankos could very easily have gotten this dragon, and I'm still not entirely sure what ability Selfmade used to get that one.
Does have teleport, whereas Wonder does not.
Let's find out what happens. Fnatic able to secure the first dragon of the game. That is a cloud. Infernal is next, which means we're gonna get a mountain or an ocean soul.
Okay, so we see here. I mean, when Selfmade moves down, as well as Nemesis being here, Whippo is already kind of moved. He's moving in. I believe he's walking.
Secure the first dragon of the game. But no further follow-up.
I wonder how long it takes before he's like, all right, I need to turn around.
This is exactly what Fnatic want, though. They've slowed down the G2 Dragon game that you're supposed to be able to get with this power mid.
Immediately. Yankos crosses over mid lane, and he's immediately backing off. So, I mean, also Wonder is seemingly aggressing onto him, so there's that. And at this point in the matchup, Ornn does have potential to kill Gangplank, if Gangplank plays it a little greedily.
Playing very defensively because he knows it sets in the top side of the map. LeBlanc also looking for a roam up top, and Fnatic looking to make the cross map. Self-made, he will spot out.
Oh, he doesn't see him. The
He
vision.
doesn't.
The vision does not see the recall from Mickey. Whippo respecting the potential dive, he backs away, so he does not concede another death. Or any death.
Gold to Wonder?
That is...
Oh, it looks like Cap's catching on somehow. I don't know if it was just the global turn or not, but
Okay, so significantly slower early game than the two previous. Yankos, despite his impact in mid onto Nemesis, has been unable to
Okay.
accelerate that further. And Fnatic, while they are down...
So they get a double crash on top lane. It actually is a, if we look at,
impact in mid onto Nemesis has been unable to accelerate that further. And Fnatic, while they are down a tower right now,
I think it's gonna
they are much more
stay, it's gonna
trading blow for
slow
blow.
push, because it's already
Thus far,
bounced
12 minutes
there.
into the game,
I
down
cannot
7-1.
see exactly what's happening. I would imagine that,
To the top tower.
I mean, based on the speed at which Whip was getting minions, that he's holding it as long as he can. I don't know if it's frozen necessarily, but it seems to be held in a. It's frozen. It's frozen.
One of the trends that we've also
It is slow pushing now though,
Nemesis is gonna be able to flash away, summon a spell
so he's gonna have to crash this next wave in. So, I was right in speculating, and I called it too early. Look at that. So, the wave accumulated, and then because it was already too close to the tower, it was almost bound to move on the next wave forward, and then Whipple needs to crash this into this tower, which should be fairly simple, especially when you see that Wonder's on the bottom side or is crossing over through the mid lane without teleport, which means that no one's really going to bother him. I guess you could argue that Caps might be able to teleport to the wave that's going to be here, but he seems to be bothering the bottom lane as Reckless and Hillisang are moving away from the
For only regular
bottom tower, which is really unfortunate for Fnatic's bottom lane, but this is the result of Caps' ability to do this. And I don't really... It doesn't seem like Nemesis is really interested in pushing further anyway, because he would also be in danger. This is still a dangerous position. Them being in this side of the map means that they could easily just transition to mid lane and threaten the mid lane tower. Or the person under the mid lane tower.
Self-made on a carry, and that's where the other gold advantage has been coming from, because he power farms, he plays for himself, he gets early kills, and now he's on the Gragas. Gragas can make these game-changing ultimate plays, but the bonus to carry's not on self-made.
Wonder ends up just going back to the top lane just in time. I feel like Whippo maybe was a little slow on this.
Where the other gold advantage has been coming from, because he power farms, he plays for himself.
I wonder.
Now he's on the Gragas. Gragas can make these game-changing ultimate plays, but the onus to carry is not on self-made right now. It's on the.
I wonder. I feel like there you try to push as fast as possible. Maybe he did, and it just looked a little slower. It seemed like it was a cannon wave too, so maybe that's also it added another wrinkle.
It was off the back of exceptionally strong solo laners. Now Caps is going to be forced.
I mean, Caps is going to be able to do that.
Made a name for themselves last year.
I wonder if Nemesis
He doesn't really have a, this massive lead here, but
because he didn't realize Caps, that was the clone W right there going forward, because he used the W first to come in. He didn't quite have the burst damage to finish him off, but they're just running this all the way
Whippo's
to the
dead.
top lane.
Whippo's in trouble. Flash is available to him. Cannon barrage as well. There's no support.
Whippo should be dead.
By some time. While that's going on, Fnatic are going to take
Whippo is 100% dead.
Whippo is just taking them on a run. Cue the, is it music?
That's the one.
And he's running for his life.
I just tried to get an
Come out.
execute here, but he's not going to get it, I don't think.
No, I don't think so either. Barrel will get
Minion's getting
interrupted.
away.
Minion blocking Caps. He continues to take them on a run. While that's going on, Fnatic are pushing down the bottom lane. It's a dead even game thus far, and that will be the
Eventually,
kill secure.
surely it'll happen. Come on.
Wait a minute. Will it?
A lot
Yes,
of
it will.
damage.
He'll give
Perks
it
and
first.
Mickey arrive as well, and that's maybe even more problematic. Kill secured there by Caps after wasting a lot of time. So much time that Reckless and Hilly get into the inner turrets.
Exactly that. They're able to push in through bot. They'll be able to move in.
Okay. Due to the movements from there, I mean, Whippo was a little
While that's going
far
on,
forward.
He's not going to get
on a run.
Let me actually just look at where he was and why.
Clone W right there going forward, because he used the W first to come in. He didn't quite have the burst damage to finish him off, but they're just running this all.
I mean, seemingly because Wonder pushed the wave and he didn't actually, crash it in. But what this ends up doing is that it puts Whippo in this more dangerous spot rather than here on his bush, where he can kind of just back off and ult it over himself, preventing these two from killing him. But obviously that's not really doable. He does actually ult here, which I think is just bad.
All the way to the top lane.
Whippo's in trouble. Flash is available to him. Cannon barrage as well. There's
Does
no
he?
support from anyone else. The
Yeah, he
power
does.
by some time.
Oh, he uses it on the wave. I guess it's not that bad.
While that's going on,
Using it on the wave is fine.
Tower in the bottom lane, and Whippo is just taking them on a run. Cue the, is it Benny Hill music?
That's the one.
And he's running for his life.
I just tried to get an execute here, but he's not going to get it, I don't think.
No, I don't think so either. Barrel will get
Minion's getting
interrupted.
away.
Minion blocking Caps. He continues.
Ornn ends up moving to the bottom lane, catching the wave, and then you have the bottom laners transition to the mid lane, pushing Nemesis off. Nemesis cannot clear against Ashe and Braum, as well as the fact that he doesn't have flash anyway. He doesn't have flash, and he can't push against Ashe and Braum anyway. That's the proper sentence construction.
Continues to take them on a run. While that's going on, Fnatic are pushing down the bottom lane. It's a dead even game thus far, and that will be the
Eventually,
kill secure.
surely it'll happen. Come on.
Wait a minute. Will it?
A lot
Yes,
of
it will.
damage.
He'll give it
Perks and
first.
Mickey arrive as well, and that's maybe even more problematic. Kill secured there by Caps after wasting a lot of time. So much time that Reckless and Hilly get into the inner turrets.
Exactly that. They're able to push in through bot. They'll be able to move into the bot side jungle, rotate up into mid, and potentially threaten this tower. But Yanko.
I wonder if it's prudent if on this spot.
Made a name for themselves last year.
I wonder if Nemesis flashed there because he didn't realize Caps, that was the clone W right there going forward, because he used the W first to come in. He didn't quite have the burst damage to finish him off, but they're just running this all the way to the top.
No. I was wondering if there was a way for Nemesis and Whippo to trade positions there, but I mean the timing was basically Caps and Yankos were around the mid lane, forced the flash, and then they immediately transitioned to the top side.
Come on.
Wait a minute. Will it?
A lot
Yes,
of
it will.
damage.
He'll give it
Perks and
first.
Mickey arrive as well, and that's maybe even more problematic. Kill secured there by Caps after wasting a lot of time. So much time that Reckless and Hilly get into the inner turrets.
Exactly that. They're able to push in through bot. They'll be able to move into the bot side jungle, rotate up into mid, and potentially threaten this tower. But Yanko's securing this Rift Herald now means the G2 after a quick reset could look to take the mid tower themselves.
Yeah, so, okay, we're gonna get the cinematic here.
So the mid lane, this always gives me. So the mid lane
It's okay, have your fun.
Bring us back into game 5 of G2 versus Fnatic. Thank you.
is really pivotal here because Caps is able to kind of run around the map, and even though Whippo, I mean the matchup was pretty even, But now it's kind of he's fallen behind because of the pressure that Caps and Jankos provide. So right now, Jankos perfectly fine. Set's doing work. Eventually comes dead weight.
Wild ride across the rift. It is still a 500 gold advantage to G2 Esports. The winner goes to finals next Sunday. The loser plays Rogal Mad next Saturday. And I said this at the beginning of the game. I said this 30 minutes ago. The world is watching. What we're trying to see here is how our representatives that place first, second, or third in seeded.
This is an Infernal Dragon that I don't think that Fnatic are really interested in contesting, so they are not.
Managed to handle the early death by Nemesis, and they are just marginally behind G2. Right?
They are not really able to walk into any area. I mean, they're gonna end up losing this tower. They're gonna what's his face? Gangplank is pushing this as slowly as possible so that he doesn't get caught out here. Although we know that Jankos should be on this side of the map, so he should be pretty secure in moving down. Caps should not be able to kill Bwipo here. But we also see that Nemesis is, I mean, he's probably walking there. Is he walking?
Because in game 1,
Oh, he's actually just backed off.
Here is how our representatives that place first, second, or third in
Nemesis is in a pretty tight spot where he's not really able to comfortably go to a lane and be secure.
Managed to handle the early death by Nemesis.
So
Marginally behind G2.
I mean, let's kind of
it's not the worst. It's actually a pretty fine spot. Those are very good cleanse. Ilisang is probably dead. He's not dead. Dawning Shadow is an incredible ability. Wow. So there's something that you see the value. I know I interrupted a team fight, but I didn't want to. The Dawning Shadow and the whatever the Qs are called, I forget what they're called. By Senna provides so much value in keeping people alive and maintaining longer fights than would normally be allowed. And against champions like LeBlanc and even Ornn has fairly front-loaded burst. Same thing with Jankos' set. The only one who's really a DPS is Ashe. So if you can survive the initial hit, you're actually very likely to survive afterwards because then their cooldowns have been used, or their basic cooldowns have been used. They don't really have anything to kill you with afterwards. So they end up losing Selfmade 1-for-1. I don't know why Bwipo walked there. That was really strange. He sort of walked into them. If you see, I mean, he's straight up walking into. I'm using a highlighter. He started walking into G2, so I don't know what's going on there.
Inside the jungle and everything. And it's not over yet. They're going to find Bwipo with the slows. They absolutely are. Bwipo is now in trouble from the ranger's focus. He's forced to flash away. One is going to look for the searing charge if he can. Bella's breath available to him. Bwipo gets pulled back with Tamer into the face and he's taken down. But it is at the cost of Caps. Another 1-for-1.
What happened to Caps? We're going to have to get a replay of that because
But what did happen to Caps? Looks like Caps went for a dive on to Thresh Senna. It didn't go well. He actually didn't do any damage to Senna or Thresh. So
this initially looked like it was just kill after kill after kill going in favor of G2.
Looked pretty good until Caps did that.
Yeah, but look, like it is a very split up fight, so the arrow does come through, but Ashe is not ready to fight. It is just Caps and Mickey who have a lot of damage, but with the Senna shield and healing coming.
All right, not the cleanest cleanse. It was enhanced by the playback speed.
Selfmade just, sorry, Jankos must have assumed the Caps had that kill, which is why he immediately turned on to Selfmade there, and of course, once Selfmade does die,
so close.
Not able to get, look at how low these bot laners are, and this must be where Caps commits to the kill, uses his W.
Oh, Hylissang must hit that hook.
I don't think he knows it. Hylissang got the heal, though.
Oh,
no.
You beauty!
Good hook there. Happy B for Reckless, that's for sure. But it is, at the end of the day, 4 kills to 3 in favor of G2. Gold's still very even.
Nearly 20 minutes into the game, 1 dragon apiece. Gold is irrelevant at this point. 4 kills to 3. The thing that is important to call out is G2 2-tower advantage over Fnatic. While that is standing gold, it will unlock some more possibilities for G2 to play around. And
Okay, so nothing should really be happening for the next 2 minutes. I mean, we should be... nope. Not even the Herald? The Herald has already been taken. They took the Herald after that play. Alright. So, what are they going to do with the Herald, though? Because all the tier 1s have been broken. Fnatic are now playing on the... not really the... I mean, I guess it's the back foot, but they're playing on their tier 2s, which does provide them a degree of safety. I mean, you see here Nemesis is just, he's going to be slowly pushing this wave. You're going to see over here, they're probably not pushing it very fast. Whippo, I mean, he's consistently been pushing as slowly as possible on the top side, so.
So this game will come down to who can gain control over mid, it feels like, and transition that into pressure inside lanes.
Both of the laners for Fnatic have teleport, and then you end up just hitting this. Okay. Whippo should be fine, and he wasn't. It was after the third displacement, he was no longer fine. Nemesis is actually pretty strong here. He doesn't have the Mura mana yet. And you see how long it takes to kill Ornn here.
Caps turns it 3 for 2 after it all.
Wow, what a clutch fight there. And it started off with G2 trying to get that collapse. Endo was setting it all up beautifully, and they're able to find that initial pick, but Fnatic answer back. They go toe-to-toe with
that passive.
So they get the tower here. I feel like you don't need to go for any more. Like, it works out just fine, right? How much did they use for this? Yeah, not too much, I guess. Although they might have used Yankos' flash, but nah, he was fine.
And that's a lot of damage coming out from Reckless, but the rest of Fnatic cannot find the target. Body slam comes down, 1 for 1. Top for support. Teleport coming out now from Nemesis. In the middle of the G2 members on plays, as well as the Relentless Pursuit get used. Dashing and dodging around, using that passive. Wonder will likely fall as well. And Fnatic turn around the engage to find 3 kills.
such a good hook, but Caps is still looking for Pixies.
Not entirely sure if Reckless should have gone there. I mean, it makes, I guess, he's looking for the wave mid, but it's a little dangerous due to the LeBlanc.
Setting it all up beautifully, and they're able to find that initial pick, but Fnatic answer back. They go toe-to-toe.
Nemesis is still looking for his Mura mana. That's when they'll actually want to fight. I wonder if he can get it in the next 50 seconds.
But everything else aside from that is dead even between the two teams.
Okay, we'll watch this one more time because it starts out. The Herald went down.
Hex Drinker to survive initial burst. Not initial, but the burst combo by Caps. Obviously doesn't want to complete it into the Mom Mortius, but
but they didn't. Fnatic were like, we still have 3 healthy members. That hook on the from Hillesang was beautiful because he's just acting as disruption. What could have been a huge ultimate? We don't have time because we've got another fight. And this is exactly what you
so, by the way, here, Vedius mentions how G2 are probably looking for Fnatic to just disengage it. Oh, they kill, maybe they kill Mickey here, but then we all get out, right? But that is kind of the beauty, first of all, of the fact that they use literally all of their abilities on one person, and then every single person is full health. Nemesis is also not even in the fight yet, so he teleports here, and then he can start hitting people. He might, maybe the call should have been a little earlier to teleport, because I think that if he actually teleports quicker, he ends up getting a really good culling here, and then he can wipe G2. But even on top of all of that, right? Even if G2 spread their damage out of just not just doing it on Whippo, the Senna is providing a lot of fight extension by shielding and healing. The kind of range that the Fnatic team can fight in also makes it a little more precarious. They end up losing out so much health despite only killing one person. How did they end up taking that much damage?
We'll watch this one more time because it starts out. Herald went down. Whippo knew Jankos was in the area, but he thought with the lantern surely he's safe. The arrow though forces the cleanse. That allows Jankos to pick up Whippo, and then the chain CC will mean they can finish him off. But the turnaround.
I mean, look at this damage, by the way. I'm pretty sure this is only only cannon barrage damage. Look at how much damage that is. They've basically done nothing. I mean, the Dawning Shadows, I think, came in, but... Oh, no, it comes in now. Wait. Reckless, why did you wait? Was it down? I don't understand. Why did he wait for Whippo to die before he used the Dawning Shadow? If he gives Whippo some time to live, even extra time, it also extends the fight just a bit longer, which may have also helped Nemesis come in, which I think he probably should have at this point, right? Maybe that's just a abundance of caution, going for higher percentage plays, and it became higher percentage as the fight went on, and they were clearly low health enough that if Nemesis comes in, he can actually get some kills. Because here, I guess, it's a little precarious. Anyway, moving on.
Five, and it looks like they're doing just that. The gold is dead even, the kills are dead even. G2 ahead in towers, but everything else is...
Selfmade hits the charge going forward with the Predator.
Honestly, I think that G2 expected Fnatic to disengage after that, but they didn't. Fnatic were like, we still have 3 healthy members. That hook onto Hillisang from Hillisang was beautiful because he's just acting as disruption. What could have been a huge ultimate? We don't have time, so we got another fight. And this is exactly
It's a little dangerous when G2 uses everything on one person, and then all of Fnatic are allowed to do whatever they want, especially when the one person is allowed to use basically their highest damage ability and use it across the entire opposing team. Okay. Bwipo again in a little precarious position. Reckless a bit dangerous. I guess Bwipo moves in to kind of shove them off of Reckless, but
to 6, he gets the ethereal chain onto Reckless, and the ECA will connect, but there's no further follow-up. Showstopper will bring Bwipo further backwards, but there's no damage to connect onto. Bwipo continues to run for his life. Wonder and Mickey are dashing forward, but they can't find any CC or damage to stick. It is an Ocean Dragon, and G2 appealing.
Arnold has just come back up, and Fnatic have every single ultimate except for the Gangplank 1. I think Fnatic want to re-engage us. I think they want to fight G2.
Let's see right now.
for now, see here, I mean, there's that kind of return fire that they can't really go back on because of the safety, the shields, the range potential, the CC potential. Gangplank ultimate is down. Seems like it was used. How was it used? Okay, it was used in trying to go for Mickey, I guess. I guess that makes sense, but it's not really what the Bwipo's ultimate should be used for, right? Because here he's using it to kind of catch people, when I feel like you use it to kind of chase them down, right? So if they were here and then G2 are on the dragon, you can use it just a little past them or on top of them so that you can chase them down, because you don't really have super reliable CC. Obviously hook is good and the cask is good, but those can miss. They can be flashed, they can be moved around, and it also, you have to get in a pretty decent range. I mean, they're never gonna you can't imagine that people are gonna just be like, oh, there's the Thresh here, we're just gonna get hooked by him. So bit of an inappropriate use of the Gangplank ultimate, but that's being nitpicky for no reason.
No crowd control to lock him down. 6 kills to 6. He gets Ocean Dragon. G2 appealing.
Arnold has just come back up, and Fnatic have every single ultimate except for the Gangplank 1. I think Fnatic want to re-engage us. I think they want to fight G2.
Let's see right now, Caps takes a lot of damage. Here comes the Arnold.
Roll and Forge Guard will find us.
So, I mean, he gets 3 here, and he ends up missing the E. No one can actually kill him. The culling is by far the most damage that is being put onto him. Finally, he dies. Selfmade ends up getting the smite. Caps tries to go in for another kill. That's Senna. So this is the issue. This is why I think Fnatic have the better overall composition. When it gets to this point of the game, and G2 do not have an overwhelming advantage where Caps can just go, ah, well, you're dead. Ah, you're dead. Ah, you're dead. His full combo can be survived, and then you can add shields on top of it, you can add heals on top of it, you can add range discrepancy that prevents people from coming into the rest of Fnatic to finish them off. If you use Jankos' ultimate that is only on one person, generally they don't have the damage to spread their damage across all 5 people. So they're more pick-oriented here, and we're kind of seeing that come into fruition. Because they're more pick-oriented, they can delete one target potentially, but then they have the problem of, what about the rest of the team? And even though here that doesn't really look like what's going on, what's actually happening is they don't have any ability to retaliate when they're getting chased down. If the Gangplank ultimate was still up, I'm pretty sure this could be 3 or 4 kills.
Tense team fight. So many things either missed, were dodged, were clutched up. This was crazy. This is where the Dragon starts off. Caps gets chunked out initially.
Wonder does get a really good
He misses.
Horn Horn, but then he misses the charge.
So Fnatic then just commit onto Wonder, and then this is when things get real tense.
Yeah, I mean, Fnatic
Maybe if he hits the charge on at least one person, because I understand that he was going for the one. He was going for all 3. Ends up only getting he gets none of them.
This is the game 5 everybody wanted. These fights are so insanely close.
I mean, there you see, right? Someone survives, and now you have no way of going back into them and killing them.
Who will win game 5? We're 23 minutes in. Gold is even.
It's too dangerous to go back in. If you don't necessarily have the damage to go back in, Caps kind of face planted into the wall there. Is whatever. But you still see Fnatic don't really have the agency to just go, okay, we're gonna kill this tower now. It's half health. It's dead. Still can't do that. Caps is still dangerous. Jankos is still dangerous. There's still danger individually. As a whole, they're a lot stronger than the whole of G2. Individually, which is how the side lanes are going to be played, you have a degree of danger that you can't just like, I'm going to push this tower, or I'm going to go hard shove a wave. Whippo is still back here. I guarantee you he's waiting for this wave to come into him. Nemesis is probably going to be doing the same thing soon. Even with the support from Hylissang, he's really just sitting around doing nothing. See? He's actually doing nothing. He's not... He's just like, alright, I'm going to go with my team, and with my team I can't die. Or at least, if I die, they can retaliate and make it either difficult for G2 to get out, or a 1-for-1.
But then Fnatic often have the better scaling in the late game. And when we look at this comp from Fnatic, I think one of the biggest things is going to be this Gangplank ultimate. Because note how it can easily separate and split up G2 and make it so much harder for them to actually play it.
And Vidius is talking about how the Gangplank ultimate is so important. And I generally agree.
Everybody else, 54% of you at home now believe Fnatic can win this game. I mean, it's dead even. It's 25 minutes in. Dragon is going to be up in 2 minutes. Baron is available.
Finally, the Mermanas are complete. I believe Senna's had that thing completed for a while, but now we have both of them are available. They're both online. That is huge. I don't know if there's going to be enough time. How much time is there left?
Risks are so...
Fnatic, and the fact that they kept things so close is only good for them.
Look at the bottom left-hand side of your screen, ladies and gentlemen.
2 minutes. I mean, given the fact that Nemesis can't really go to waves comfortably and take the gold that he really wants, because he ends up losing several minions before the wave actually gets to him, because he can't just sit around here. And even without that consideration, I don't know if he can actually get the IE. Getting Infinity Edge would be massive here, but I don't know if that's the case. Other thing that I didn't really pay attention to this whole game is Ash's build. Probably should be Essence Reaver. Probably should be Essence Reaver. Should be the Essence Reaver build. Because then he can go the IE, second or third. And then it's it's a lot easier for Wonder to upgrade that. And it kind of synergizes better with the overall kit that Ash would have. I mean, now he has Orc, which doesn't necessarily help against anyone. I mean, I guess Reckless went Cleaver, so there's some health stacking, but generally it's not that high value. And then the Phantom Dancer is weird because I guess there's a pretty decent amount of fine.
Else, 54% of you at home now believe
It's useful in mitigating.
I mean, it's dead even. It's 25 minutes in.
But I don't know if that's actually really that good. I don't think this is the right build for Ash here.
And the risks are so high. Fnatic have not been able to beat G2 Esports since 2000.
Everyone else is fine.
It would be mind-boggling for them to do it today, but they do need to knock over that final Nexus. If you look at the minimap, if you look at the Rift, it is G2 that currently have control.
For G2, the fight's the game. It will come down to Caps right now. He's looking for Hillsing, but he gets hooked.
Oh, see just how precarious that situation is. They actually end up getting Caps a little far forward because he's looking for Nemesis. He's thinking, okay, Nemesis finally stepped too far forward. He's dead. But you know, you have Hylissang who's actually covering him really, really well. This is actually really smart. And ends up losing his life for it.
For G2, the fight's the game. It will come down to Caps right now. He's looking for Hylissang, but he gets hooked.
Death Sentence comes in. Caps is going to be able to distort all the way back. He manages to find Yanko. Self-made finds him. Manages to land the cast. That's the 8th kill. He also did commit the cannon barrage. So 90 seconds until Dragon. There are Fnatic members moving towards Baron.
That is a
I'm evaluating it worth it.
big use of the cannon barrage. I don't know. I mean, I guess it's going to be up in time for the Dragon, but it's a little much. They can't go for the they cannot go for Baron, but this is big. And then now you see actually you see the difference in the way that the play is going now, right? Oh, Caps is dead. Oh well, this tower's dead, right? Oh, now I can push forward past the river. It's very. I mean, the way that LeBlanc plays, it kind of warps these matches, right? Because you have to play very differently because she's on the map. Kind of like how G2 had to play differently because Evelyn was on the map. Previous games.
For a series even that's been so topsy-turvy for him, it is Hylissang in the clutch to show up and shut down Caps.
Oh, I can't wait to see the discussion and the learnings from this game. 1,500 gold up off Fnatic right now.
And I mean, here again,
Ah,
Caps can be up again. Well, don't really have anywhere to go. Don't have anything to do. Let's hold this wave as long as we can.
But now Fnatic may be walking into a trap of their own. Hylissang gets caught out. The heal keeps him alive a few seconds long, but he's down. Core of the Forge God flies across multiple members of
That's a little unfortunate.
Comes out from Whippo. 9 seconds to Dragon as the numbers advance to G2.
And so this is the biggest difference. Fnatic get a pick, but they can't convert it into much. G2 get a pick.
They look for a right here. I mean, this is the right call. They go for they look to tease the Baron. They obviously can't really do it because if they go for it, it'll go really bad for them. It'll be really bad for them. Perkz is doing the right thing. You're just putting down one person to take the Dragon, and then you can kind of threaten them off of the Baron by simply presenting through mid. Somebody has to face to check that bush anyway. I guess you could argue that maybe Nemesis should have. No, he didn't have it.
The death bush in the red buff of G2. They responded to Tao top. But now Fnatic may be walking into a trap.
I mean, Whippo had it, but it was. Somebody has to face check it. You either face check it or you wait for blue trinket, and by then, pretty sure you can assume that G2 are going to be in position to take the Dragon, and the Dragon's gone.
They're fighting against an Ocean Soul point for G2. After a death like that, they can back up, lick their wounds, and live to fight another day.
I could just imagine fans right now sitting at home, wrapped around their pillow, like clutching it and biting into it because of how tense this game is.
This game is a clincher, Andrew Vedius. There's no doubt about it. And Fnatic are just marginally in the lead. The Dragon was picked up by G2, so the 4.5-minute timer is on the table. The later we go...
This isn't the cleanest game. I'm just going to take an aside. This isn't the cleanest game, right? But I feel like it actually is really high level. Because I think Fnatic are playing their composition as well as they can, and G2 have a bit of almost desperation that they are executing on, right? They're not playing their composition perfectly, but yeah, I think they probably are playing it they're probably playing it very well, right? About as well as it can go. They didn't really get the big snowball from the LeBlanc, but I mean, everything else is going pretty well for them. And they are executing on trying to kill one person, but what ends up happening is, if Fnatic are 5, they can kind of chase you down and finish you off when you've used everything on one person. Now, if they're in a position where they don't have to use everything, like if Caps can just kill someone on his own, or you can only use the set ultimate, and you still have Arrow, or you still have Braum ultimate, then you can argue, okay, they're probably in a super good spot, and Fnatic don't have real agency to do anything about it. But because it's even, Fnatic are allowed to go through this.
Yeah, risky, but I think it's really worth highlighting the itemization right now, because when we look at the items for Reckless, he is fully, well, he's got 3 online. He's upgraded the more mana.
So it kind of, if you look at the scoreboard, you're like, it's a lot of kills. It's a decent amount of kills.
vast majority is actually on Wonder. Yes, he's a
It's
sniper,
not the bloodiest game, but it's not
death cap from him yet. We don't
super
upgraded all items
clean.
yet coming out from the side of G2, which
But
means
honestly,
that the Fnatic is that much stronger.
it's pretty clean. It's a pretty clean game.
Oh, they're actually sitting on a lot of money right now.
That's true. I believe, yeah, I think they want to wait for Rabadons for the Infinity Edge too, because those items can be upgraded by Wonder.
Well, let's see what
That's
happens.
another thing, by the way.
Yeah,
So do you need to go Void Staff? Can you just go Rabadons second and then get the upgrade from Wonder? Because what's the MR that's being built? 1 Mark Treads, Hex Drinker. I mean, Thresh has some. And that's it. No one else is building any MR. These are some of the lowest MR values in the game. Just natural MR values in the game. Like, I feel like you can go Rabadons. It might be a case of it was a lot easier to build the Void Staff because it's cheaper and the components are a lot simpler to buy. But
I believe, yeah, I think they want to wait for Rabadons for the Infinity Edge too, because those items can be upgraded by Wonder.
Well, let's see what happens as Fnatic are now pushing into the Bramble back. Still 3 minutes till Dragon. Yanko's gonna step
they
forward.
should not lose that. Yep. Okay, Yankos is
Fight to it as well. And
fine.
you can
So
see
what does
All four
Yankos? What does G2 need to do
make those plays.
to win this game? I think they need to go for the Soul.
Perks just picked up the Infinity Edge. That is why.
Oh, look at the arrow!
The Enchanted Crystal.
Soul.
It will connect. They want the dash as well. Get pulled backwards. Call the forward guard comes out. Nemesis will flash away from that.
Okay, look how many things we're using, and they're all gone.
Ultimate's committed,
And
they
Nemesis
do
is
end up
left.
getting his flash.
But they get the flash, and that's
So they get the flash, which is actually pretty important. But so G2, I mean, they have to play for the Soul, right? That actually is the only condition. They can play there for the Soul, or Fnatic can really majorly screw up and someone can die. I mean, Nemesis almost did. And that would have allowed them to kind of march up the mid lane if they wanted to. Go up the bottom lane. Maybe even transition to a Baron, because, I mean, they have the Blade of the Rune King on the Ashe.
because now there's no objective. They don't need that ultimate for anything. And on top of that, Perks will get his upgraded Infinity.
Perks has just gotten his Molten Edge.
Now has to be very careful, as Caps is going to be looking for him.
Exactly, like Caps finding him in a side lane, and G2, the way you can watch it and look for where they want to make plays, they're going to be playing around Perks, it feels like, or Caps, and a lot of it is going to come off of Perks' arrow. When he has arrow, when they push out a lane, walk into the enemy jungle, look for targets, look for deep vision, because wards like that will set up picks for kills, for flashes, and future objectives.
Keep looking at the minimap, I keep looking at the vision, and it's been G2 dominated for several minutes, but they haven't been able to catch a Fnatic member out of position, and it does feel like both teams have kind of handshook and gone, if it's not a Dragon or a Baron, maybe we don't want to fight over it anymore. We haven't seen those dives, we haven't seen G2 even really crossing the halfway mark on the Rift, and Fnatic, similar situation.
Yeah, the interesting thing here is that the Soul is not really the big threat, it's the Baron. That's going to be the biggest objective that's going to swing the game in either direction, and whoever gets that can come very close to winning the game, depending on how the teamfight plays out. G2 now grouping up, you can see Gangplank in the bot lane, no teleport, but does have the ultimate. Wonder just ticks 16, which means that he has the upgraded on ulti.
Okay.
Both teams looking for a fight, but I think G2 need to wait for that death cap to be completed before they go for a
See,
fight.
right there, that's not good. Right, that right there, I don't like that. Here's the thing. Yes, Fnatic are good on a 5v5. You do not want to initiate the fight, I don't think. I think that that's really dangerous. And we see this, I see this a lot in compositions that are like this, where you want to front to back more than anything else, that when they go for initiations, unless they can just one-shot whoever they pick up on this hook, which they probably can't because it's Braum and Set, they're inviting Caps to hit someone who might misposition because of the way you have to fight this. That, or he hits the hook and it literally doesn't do anything. You like get a barrel off of him and then you walk away. So either way, this is just, I guess it doesn't really matter. At best, you hit someone and then you don't get anything off. At worst, you endanger the rest of your team because they might react in a suboptimal way.
That's the death cap now finished for Caps. Like, this is it, gentlemen. Like, both teams are ready, right? They've entered the
Okay, Pax. Caps is moving down to Wonder so they can give him the Death Crown.
Caps is sprinting over to Wonder. He's like, come on, give me the item. Like, the death cap is good. The death crown is even better.
There it is.
And bam.
Molten Edge upgraded for Perks, Death Crown. for Caps in the middle lane. 30 seconds until the Ocean Dragon is up. It is the third one.
feel like
It may not be worth throwing the entire game over, so if a team has an advantageous
do
position,
upgrade for
they'll probably
Yankos.
contest it, but Baron is still open and
A
available.
locket, so you can layer the lockets, kind of increase your own ability to extend fights, and then you can get like Caps' cooldowns or something. I don't know. Seems a little.
Fnatic are currently pushing through the mid lane, trying to put pressure on that tower.
They still can't take it down though. The Drake is spawning in 7 seconds. This
I feel like if G2 are going for
Both side steps, 1 second. Okay, Ocean Dragon has
any
been
kind
spawned.
of like
And the
DPS
Vegas
fight
close
where
to
they
the
extend
so incredibly
the
tense.
length of the
Both
fight,
teams
it's
playing
not
with
good
an
for them.
immense amount of respect. A single mistake cost the series.
So
A
I don't
single
know
mistake
if the
cost
locket is
the
actually
guaranteed
good
first or second seed of the
for
World Championship.
Yankos.
More importantly, a shot at
It's
the
like
LEC
decent
title.
for
Big
Ornn.
one for either
Okay,
team.
there's a
The Purple's going in. Purple flashes over the wall.
Cannon Barrage. Caps is on the side. You have to flash away.
Caps is able to escape. Now one that takes damage. Perks and Yankos will be able to pick up the Ocean Dragon.
Perks and Yankos gets the
Barrel will
soul
capture the Yankos, the rest of G2. Now
soul
it's
point
trying to
dragon.
Selfmade finds the kill. He goes golden for a few seconds. The death sentence will not find his target. Corner Forge Guard will not
You see how difficult it is for G2 to really get anyone on Fnatic. I'll go back and look at what Caps did. Perks actually ended up getting Nemesis there, which is kind of really important because if Nemesis is alive, I'm pretty sure they could have ended because these are fairly long death timers. Now, let's just look at what Caps was doing.
Because this game is so incredibly tense. Both teams playing with an immense amount of respect. A single mistake cost the series. A single mistake cost it.
By the way, what was that arrow?
Through the mid lane, trying to put
Let me
pressure on
just
that tower.
look at that arrow and see what was the likelihood of that being capitalized on. Okay, fair enough. He wanted to hit self-made. Self-made just dodged it.
Ocean Dragon has just been spawned, and Vetis and I cannot get closer to the monitors because this game is so
If self-made gets caught, I mean, that's a free dragon and they don't even have to worry about it. So, perfectly respectable arrow.
Single mistake costs a guaranteed first or second seed of the World Championship. More
Okay,
importantly, a shot at the LEC title, the 8th one.
try to move him down. Caps. This is Leandri's Gangplank? Yeah, it is. He just finished the Leandri's just before this fight, which is actually really, really important. Because the damage is insane on this ultimate. And given the fact that the ultimate is the big part of Gangplank here, the Leandri's is obviously the best build choice.
And Vetis and I cannot get closer to the monitors because this game is so incredibly tense. Both teams playing with an immense amount of respect. A single mistake cost the series. A single mistake costs a guaranteed first or second seed of the World Championship. More importantly, a shot at the LEC title, the 8th one.
Ooh. Oh, Caps misses Bwipo. Bwipo moves forward, right? He moves forward. He actually has the control ward that prevents Caps from really seeing him. Moves forward, dodges the W, and then hits him with an auto for 300 damage. So now Caps is like, oh, well, that's really unfortunate. I'm going to have to back off. Then he actually has to ult away. Whipple actually flashed over the wall to try to kill him. Dawning Shadow comes in. Caps had to ult away. Is this all on Caps? I feel like his target selection isn't super great. I mean, to be fair, what target does he go for, right? If he goes for one of the bunched up targets, he's just going to get killed, right? There's no way for his team to save him. He needs to go for an isolated target. Now, Gangplank isn't necessarily the best choice, but Perks and Yankos do the right thing. Self-made somehow curls around the entire dragon pit. A little cautious by Self-made, but it's fine. Don't know if he necessarily needed to be that cautious. He may have been able to go for the steal too. Fairly split, and in these kind of extended fights, Fnatic always wins. It's games like these that make me question why it's so popular to believe that these like high execution, strong, early game, aggressive compositions and playstyles are super beneficial. Because the question is, what team is going to do better than what G2 did this game? Did G2 falter somewhere? Like, who screwed up? Who screwed up on G2? Was there any error? Maybe, I mean, maybe you could argue that the top lane fight, where after they took tier 2, it was bad, but that's not really, like, is that really the make or break point? Maybe you could argue that. Because you kind of lose out on tempo after that point, but even then, I mean, they had control of the map, right? They dictated everything that was going on. The only other thing they could have done is dive, right? If they really wanted to, they could attempt, you know, 5-man dive, but the 5-man is always in Fnatic's favor, and when you're diving, it's even worse. So maybe there was a thin window, but you have to ask, like, what team is able to take that window? What team has that window? Does it need to be an even more aggressive team? Could an LPL team with this composition? Would an LPL team even pick this composition to play against this one? What happens? You know, did G2 screw up? Or did Fnatic just... Did they weather the storm super well? Like, what did they do that was spectacular? Feels like it was a compositional difference. So, not to say that playing for the early game, control and all that, playing aggressively, going for priority, he's just dead there. I mean, you could argue Caps is screwing up. Maybe there it is. I mean, I did say that Fnatic is not Fnatic. Caps is the real big center point of this composition for G2, but still, I think that you can argue that this is a very likely state of events. Set of circumstances. Sequence of events. I couldn't think of the word sequence. For Fnatic, so I don't know what else could G2 have done? Just not get caught? Caps plays a little better? But why do I want... It just seems almost unfair to be like, all right, Caps, if you just played better, you'd be going to the finals and you wouldn't have this problem. You wouldn't be facing off against Rogue on Saturday. Doesn't even seem fair. Just seems like asking too much players. Whippo keeps making these weird mistakes. He's like too far forward or walking into people that he probably shouldn't be walking into. I have no idea what that was. I mean, obviously it was because Whippo just was too far forward, right? Like at a certain point, he was just like, all right, well, I'm just dead, so.
Wide open. I can't believe it. I thought that was it. I thought the Fnatic were gonna just end the game right then and there, but like you can't give all the credit to Caps, but the fact that he just one-shot self-made from the flank, the fact that he was able to find the opportunity was beautiful. But
I feel like a lot of the credit goes to Whippo there. I feel like without Gangplank just walking up for no reason,
It starts off here. I think the Ornn ultimate comes through and is gonna be huge after they isolate Whippo at the start. But he just doesn't get the Ornn ultimate up, and it doesn't matter because Caps explodes self-made.
Caps just demolished self-made.
Members of Fnatic again and again. They are still down. There are super minions pushing in the bottom lane, and the Ocean Soul is
Looking to find those is how G2 are gonna win this game. The likelihood of those, I mean, it requires Fnatic screwing up, right?
G2 might just give this one up. Wait, what if Caps actually tries to steal it over the wall? Remember the QR combo?
That's a lot of damage. I mean, Yanko's too. He has Hex Flash, and there's not a Baron for 3 minutes. This could just be a 50-50 steal and get the hell out.
Caps down. He's gonna go for the try. Death Sentence almost catches him.
So now they're both on Soul Point.
Level heads they pull the dragon out of the pits, they play that one.
Fairly difficult for G2 to go for it because of the Baron that was on. Fnatic were able to just get onto it without any problems.
Could be the final play to win this
So now Baron is going to be the next 2 minutes, or 2 minutes 30 seconds. That is the... I don't think that's really a place where we're going to see the fight. It's probably going to be on that next dragon. Dragon's a lot easier to kill. More likely for it to be an actually contested objective.
My observer's going to tell me in just a second how many stacks the Senna does have, but Nemesis with the double AD carry threat, with the Gangplank ultimate, they have a lot of damage, but they're very squishy. He has 117 stacks on the Senna right now, so like, you are full late game Senna.
That is a lot of stacks. 117 stacks on Senna.
But they're very squishy. If Caps finds anyone, he could almost one-shot pretty much any member. He has so many targets.
And keep in mind, Reckless has been a consistent rock all year long, consistently high performing. When the pressure was on, when the back wing at the wall, Hillisang.
I feel like you have to give the MVP to Hillisang so far, right?
So much of this summer season have stepped up. 2, 2, and 5 for Nemesis. 1, 1, and 12 for Hillisang. His death sentences and his lanterns have been
He
changing.
covered the best. I mean, Reckless was just playing Senna. He was able to not really luck their way through it, because I don't think it was luck that those abilities didn't kill, or that Senna was able to heal and shield. But isn't going to be anything. 2 minutes for Dragon. Okay, Caps was doing a lot of damage to no MR targets, but even 2 targets with MR, he's probably going to be doing full health bars.
Of the most discussed names going into the World Championship, especially after G2's year last year, the fact that Fnatic caused so many upsets. But right now, a very intense game 5.
Okay, about even now. So now we're in a position where G2 and Fnatic kind of just have to trade. There's nothing that no team is going to have full agency to be on one side of the map. So
right now, a very intense game 5. This game could literally go
or both sides of the map, I guess. Okay, Wonder has to flash. Not necessarily the greatest Gangplank ultimate. It does cause flashes though. That is very massive. I remember this happening and thinking that G2 probably just won off of this. But then the Sentinel duo in Senna and Lucian end up saving the day here. Nemesis on that culling was massive. There it is again, by the way. You can't kill the target, and now you have to back off because I can't do anything to the target anymore, and no one can reach the target. So his culling is coming in, and no one's able to stop him, right? So look at this again. Look what Caps does. I believe that's a QR. But he also W'd already, right? And he doesn't have flash. So that right there is basically all that Caps can do. No one else can reach him. Wonder cannot reach him. Vicky cannot reach him. Burks obviously cannot reach him. Senna is potentially able to save him anyway, using her Q. And then ult. And saved the day.
How in the world did that game not end? Nemesis with the ultimate comes up so clutch. The Drake now spawns in 35 seconds. Wonder does not have TP. He will be dead when the Drake is alive. Fnatic are very likely going to get this all. And I'm like, what is
this is some of the most troll set of circumstances possible, right?
He was going to find Nemesis as well. Nemesis was going to go there.
There's no ways. 43 minutes in, 13 kills.
This is so weird. What ends up happening here?
You know what? The numbers don't freaking matter. The next team fight.
Nemesis walks over here, right? He's like, alright, I'm gonna walk over here. I'm gonna sit in this bush. Caps is like, he sneaks up. He actually kind of screws up, I guess. Right here. And doesn't check the bush. Not like he really could. So here, Cap's like, okay, I'm gonna go for that, and then the Ocean seals it. Nemesis also does the.
I think that's it. I thought it was done and dusted. I thought G2 had won it all.
See, he does. He was gonna leave. He was gonna join his team, right? He was gonna go and join, but he says, hold on, I'm gonna wait." It's almost Nemesis was on some sort of like clairvoyant stuff going on, because he walked into this bush, didn't do anything besides walk into this bush and start recalling. Caps just shows up and gives it to him. And then he walks out and is like, you know what, I'm actually going to sit and wait for them to, for my team to push. I'll teleport onto a minion when we go for the end. But we have an exposed, or mostly exposed, Nexus. Someone goes in for a backdoor. I can stop them.
They get the kill onto Caps. They secure the Ocean Soul. 5 members strong. Fnatic are looking to end it.
With the world watching, with the criticism never being higher, with Nemesis and Hillesang going to the Nexus. Going to the Nexus. Fans, they turn this around.
Now, I have no idea what Perks thought was actually going to happen, because it doesn't really make sense. He doesn't have minions. I guess he might have been able to get the Nexus tower, but it... I mean, he just immediately dies, right? Oh, wait, the tower was dead. Oh, right. They killed it going out from the thing. The first time. I don't know how I missed that. But, okay, so it was an exposed Nexus. I could have sworn the tower was there. Oh, whatever. So Nemesis sits and says, okay, well, I'm going to wait, because obviously our Nexus is exposed. I want to figure out who's going to do anything. And now that he knows, well, Wonder's here, they're all dead. There shouldn't be any way of them teleporting in, and we're ending the game. Teleport in, finish the game.
Kills Perks, and Fnatic turn their attention to the Nexus turret. They get one. Stop focusing down the second. The backdoor bonus is just about to end. Fnatic, for the first time since 2018, for the first time in 875 days, Fnatic take down G2. Fnatic are your summer fight for the first time.
So, there were mistakes during this game, right? This wasn't the clean game or anything. This wasn't like, wow, look at everyone, doing everything perfectly. It was just really back and forth, because of, compositional things, and there was no mistakes being had. No one really went and did something that was a little too much. No one went too far forward. No one committed too hard. It happened across both teams. Both teams had issues, right? But I think that the compositional difference was just too big, especially when they're allowed to get to this point, right? But the question is, how much do you have to do to prevent them from getting to this point? So I'm going to actually try to look at the gold values, and this is where the LCS UI is a lot better, because the gold is front and center, but it's whatever, it's right there. So we're going to look at the gold values. Right now it's about even, right? So we're going to highlight those.
Last few kills. Every single kill. Pressure, they get so much vision control around the Baron, but
When does it start moving into... When does the needle start moving for Fnatic? Is it after the top lane fight? This is the top lane fight, right? Even. This is before the top lane fight. Or no, this is after. This is after. This is after. This is very, very close still. Still fairly close. I mean, about 700 difference at 16 minutes. We understood that the agency difference was there, right? Caps being allowed to be around the bottom side jungle for Fnatic obviously causes problems. Nemesis not really being able to push the lane for extra plates is problematic. Blippo, I mean, basically having to push lanes as slow as humanly possible on literally every wave. I don't know if he ever like fully barreled a single wave. So, or at least for most waves, he wasn't able to fully barrel. So, yeah, G2 had the control over the map, but doesn't necessarily lend to a winning position, right? I mean, it was about even the whole game. What more could G2 want? Where was the mistake? Who died? Mickey died. Where was that?
If we could get that.
Oh right, it was the fight down bottom. Which after this, they G2 move up to make the play on the Herald or with the Herald. Like what more does G2 need to do for this to work? Because I don't necessarily like just going, oh well, draft difference, nothing they could have done, it was over from the start. Like, I guess they just have to dive, and they didn't really have like a fully committed potential dive composition. Because if Fnatic just hug their turrets, objectives are only up every 5 minutes. Or 6 minutes. So it's not like Fnatic aren't able to like creep back into the map to see like, oh, are you gonna do the dragon, or maybe we can contest the dragon, depending on their items or whatever. So sitting under their tower isn't relevant for large portions of the game, right? Because, oh, I'm sitting under my tower, but what are you getting? I guess they could be getting jungle camps. That might accelerate them, but even that wasn't really there. Yeah. I'm very curious to see the Rogue versus G2 match. Rogue obviously went more aggressively during the Mad Lions series, so I wonder if that will kind of carry over to G2's against G2. I imagine it's going to be a redo of this match for the finals, but maybe Rogue can surprise. Yeah, this feels really difficult to beat by Fnatic, right? I mean, using this specific composition, right? Using compositions like, oh god, not the highlighter. Using compositions like the one that G2 has right now. Maybe if they have like a different mid laner, it can go differently. But the way that it works here is the entire draft is kind of like warped around the LeBlanc. It's just so important to the way that they function. Interesting. Very interesting. So either, I guess you have to commit to, in situations like this, right, where you can see, what if they just hug their towers and only creep out every 5 minutes for dragons, right? What if that's the play they make? You can't accelerate from that, because they're just hugging their towers, you can't actually kill them. And if they can join as 5, they're stronger than you. So I think you just have to draft differently. Maybe you draft something... Is Bard better here? Because it can disable towers, catch people. I think so. It actually probably is, because then you can use Bard to catch people. You can use the Enchanted Crystal Arrow to catch people. You can then you can finalize the kill with LeBlanc. Yeah, I think that Bard would just make this composition a lot easier to play. In any case, be very interesting to see what happens this Saturday and Sunday. I'm in Rojo.